I'm the CEO of Visionary Remodels and the host of the Real Estate Tech Expo. I'm here today with the second part of my series about disaster preparation. Today I'd like to talk to you about how to prepare for a fire. There are four critical things you need to do if you want to prepare yourself for a fire. The first is you want to have your car prepared. Second, you want to prepare your kids. Third, you want to have a meeting place prepared. And fourth, you want to have an out-of-area contact set up. Let's discuss these in a little more detail. But before we start, I want to say what I say during all of my disaster prep videos. You must prepare for disasters before they happen. If you wait until the disaster happens, it'll be too late. All right, so your car. Why is it important that you prepare your car for a disaster? Well, your car is almost always with you. Wherever you go, if you're at home or away, you likely have your car with you. So that means you want to have some emergency supplies in your car ready to go in the event of a disaster. What do you want to have in your car? First of all, you want to have water. You want to have about a gallon of water per person per day. So you want to have at least 1 gallon of water in your car. Second, and this is something people forget, you want to have your car's gas tank at least half full. Why? If there's a disaster in your area, a fire or an earthquake, you want to be able to flee the area, and most likely you'll use your car to flee. You're probably going to be stuck in traffic, and you will not be able to get gas from a gas station. The gas stations will either run out of gas, or they won't have power to pump the gas. So therefore, you want to have at least half a tank of gas in your car to allow the time it'll take to idle on the freeway and give you a chance to get away from the disaster. Next, you want to have food in your car. I recommend non-perishable, high-calorie things like protein bars or nuts. You want to have any medicines you might need in your car in the event that they're medicines you take on a daily basis and you would suffer without them. Don't forget to consider whatever medicines you might need for family members or children or pets as well. Finally, you want to have something to keep you warm. I recommend an extra change of clothes, jackets, and you may want to consider getting some disaster blankets that you can order from Amazon.com that are thin, easy to carry around, and keep you warm. Finally, you want to have some sources of light. Extra flashlights or broken glow sticks that you can get from the 99-cent stores. Have those available in your car, ready to go. Next, kids. How do you prepare your kids for a disaster? Again, you want to do this before the disaster occurs. Don't wait for the disaster to discuss this with your kids. You want to teach them what to do with a fire. They may not even know what a fire is in a house. Tell your kids that, number one, if there's a fire, they want to get low to the ground. The thing that usually gets you in the event of a fire isn't the fire itself, but it's the smoke from the fire. If your kids are in a house that's on fire, they need to know they need to crawl on the ground because the air is fresher on the ground. They don't want to be high up. Crawl on the ground to get away from the smoke. If it's available, they'll also want to cover their mouths with a cloth, ideally a wet cloth, so they can breathe fresher air. The next thing to tell your kids is if they're in their bedroom when there's a fire and the door is closed, they need to feel the door before they open it up. If the door is too hot, they should touch the door. If the door is too hot, they must leave the door closed. Don't open the door if the door is hot in a house on fire, because right outside the door could be the fire. Now next, if the door is not hot, the fire may not be outside the door. Then your kids may want to consider leaving their room. This is something you want to discuss with your kids so they know how to exit the house in the event of a fire. Now, the other thing you want to tell your kids is if the door is hot and they're stuck in their room, you want to explore for your house whether it makes sense for them to open the window, break the window, climb out of the window, or just wait near the window in the hopes of rescue. In either case, they want to stay near a source of fresh air. Thirdly, you want to have meeting spots. When you have a family or more than one person in a house, you want to have a place that you could meet and gather after a fire or a disaster. I recommend having 2 meeting spots, one near your house and one further away. The one near your house could be the backyard, across the street, the school down the street, somewhere nearby that isn't likely to catch on fire. And then you want to have one meeting spot that's further away. Why? Well, if the area you live in is destroyed by a fire or earthquake, or it's uninhabitable, you want to have a second spot further away that you can meet. The reason you want to have a meeting spot is that cell phones may not work in the event of a fire or earthquake or other disaster. If your cell phones don't work, you want to have a way that you and your family could all get together without speaking to each other to make sure they could find each other and be safe and be able to look out for each other's needs. Now finally, I want to talk to you about the idea of having an out-of-area contact. If there's a disaster, you want to be able to let someone know that you're okay, or heaven forbid not okay, so that person can relay this information to anyone else that they need to know. I heard a story recently about someone who was stuck in a disaster. They made a call on their cell phone and they called their out-of-area contact. They said they were okay and they asked them to call their parents. Then they hung up the phone and they decided to try calling their parents themselves. Their phone didn't work. The only call they were able to make out was that initial call to their out-of-area contact. That person called their parents and their other family members and told them that everything was okay. If they hadn't had the out-of-area contact, everyone would have been worried. So those are the 4 things you need to do to prepare yourself for a fire. Prepare your car, prepare your kids, set a meeting spot, preferably 2, and have an out-of-area contact. Again, this is Gregory Charlop, the CEO of Visionary Remodels and the host of the Real Estate Tech Expo. And stay tuned, sign up for our YouTube channel, and we'll have more videos about disaster preparation.